This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it's time for Your Purpose, Your Power, a Journey to Authenticity. Welcome to this collaborative podcast series brought to you by newclevelandradio.net and Cleveland 13 News. I'm your host, Karen Hale, and I'm honored to share space with extraordinary individuals from Cleveland and beyond. And today's guest is from Los Angeles. You've discovered their purpose, their power to live it out fully while lifting others along the way. Over the past 13 years, podcasting has been more than a career. It's been a path to reclaiming my own authenticity. Before that first recording, I spent years chasing an image of who I thought I should be. But the moment I introduced my very first guest, something shifted. I found my voice and, more importantly, my purpose. This series is about meaningful conversations, mutual growth, and the beauty of learning from each other. I'm so glad you're here, so let's meet my guest. Her name is Seema, and I'm going to let her pronounce her own name because her last name, because I'm not good at names to begin with. But what I want to share with you is I met her through podmatch.com. And when I read her bio, I thought, Seema is one of millions of women across the globe who are struggling to find their identity. And too often as women, we have given our identity up to others, whether it be our parents, our teachers, our husbands, our children, our employers. We become who we think they want us to be, and we lose ourselves along the way. So, Seema, I know you have a journey. In fact, it started when you were a young child and you immigrated to the United States. You are a U.S. citizen and you're finding your voice as an adult. Tell us how that happened.
First of all, thank you so much, Karen, for inviting me to the show. And it's always a pleasure and an honor to be in your in a podcast and to speak to your listeners about my story and about my journey. So I was a 9-year-old girl, immigrated to the United States, and I was the third child of an immigrant family. At that time, when we came to the United States, it was just more of a survival. We were trying to survive. My parents didn't know how to speak English. We had to start from scratch. And so it was a lot of adjusting that we had to do as a family. But I remember it wasn't even the first summer that we had arrived that, somehow I was not pushed, maybe I was pushed, I was guided into going to a piano teacher who was our neighbor at that time. And she, came and said, well, it's wonderful. Seema should start learning how to play the piano. And so I was 9 years old and I started taking classes from her. And I think, Karen, it started from there, where the teacher was extremely abusive to me, where I had no other choice. And so it was very, very difficult, training. Classical piano has a lot of, tedious work, tedious, concentration. You have to concentrate, you have to work. So it was very, very difficult. And since we had just came from we had just immigrated, I thought, that this is the way it's supposed to be. I don't have another choice. So it took about 7 years. And I remember even at that time when I was a young girl, I was even afraid to tell my mother that this teacher is being so ruthless to me,
Mm.
is being so ruthless. We had classes, my classes would start for about 3 hours twice a week. Oh, that's way, way too much for a 9-year-old girl to
Sure.
withstand. All that 3 hours, I mean, she was pushing and yelling and, for every little thing that, I had to do. But somehow I did pull through it. But that's when it started for me to suppress my voice at a young age.
Interesting.
I really thought, I just didn't, I just couldn't talk. I couldn't express myself. I couldn't stand up for myself.
So here you are in a new country to begin with, um, and you're not really sure at 9 years old what to expect in this new country. And you go to do something that is supposed to be joyful, and that's what music is about. And now you're basically being abused.
Yeah, yeah.
So, how long did you take these lessons?
I took these lessons for 7 years, from the age of 9 until I think 17, 16, 17, when I graduated high school. So not only I was really, really under a lot of stress with this piano teacher, well, obviously, I was learning to play the classical piano, and my mom at that time, she probably thought, well, her daughter's playing the classical piano, but I was so petrified and so scared, to even tell my mother that this teacher is doing X, Y, and Z. She was verbally abusive, or, just made long hours.
Yeah,
But you know what happened, Karen? At that young age, when a girl goes through that kind of many years, she thinks where her life is supposed to be like this.
exactly. Exactly.
I don't know any better. I have to listen to others. I don't have a voice. I have to listen to others. And I have to be submissive to others. I have to be submissive to the powerful, to the dominating.
And now you have two older siblings.
Yeah.
You weren't
I
even
have
able to talk to them.
no, the older siblings, they're very, very different from me. My sister even came to piano, but even at that time, one class she came and she said, it's not for me. She had the voice. She told my mother no. And my brother, well, he was busy doing his own thing, but I was the maybe the black sheep of the family. I was the submissive, the pleaser, people pleaser, doing the right thing. And it really did truthfully start at that young age.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
so, because your brain is somehow wired that way, not to say anything, not to, break the status quo. Not, I was just, in me. But I did survive her, and I did go to college at the age of 17. And at 17, my brain was so wired and so, overachiever, and I was trying to do that. I did graduate with double majors, political science and music from USC, in a matter of 3 years. Whoever does this, right? But
Yeah,
since I had this training from the piano that was so, my brain was overly achieving, my brain wires was like overly achiever. So, and then at 20, when I graduate, in our culture, in our religion, it was like a matchmaking,
yep.
we were not supposed to date. I have never even dated anybody else in my life. And so the parents, they knew each other, and boom, after 4 months of dating, I don't know any better. I get married.
So that's a
Right?
cultural thing. However, it's from the old country
Yeah.
culture. It wasn't an American thing.
No, it wasn't an American thing. No, no. If my parents thought if I didn't get married, I would be an old maid by 20.
And
And I was a very high achiever person. I had done so much in my piano. I had done so much in my college. There were so much opportunities, that I could have done and done with my life rather than get married at an early age. I could have, explored who I am. I could have discovered who I am. I could have discovered what I want. But life, there's no regret about anything, but this is just my story.
sure.
Um, but life, those were the things that I was faced with, and those were you know, my cards. Those were my cards. Go to the piano teacher, marry and marry. And what was interesting was that my husband was also very young, 28. I was 20, 21 at that time. And his father had just passed away. And he said, well, Seema, why don't we come and live with my mother and brother for about a year and a half? And I said, I was very, again, submissive, not to have too much voice. And I said, okay. Well, Karen, that 1.5 year turned out to be 10 years
Oh my.
living with my in-laws.
And so what I'm hearing is you didn't have a voice younger on, but in the back of your mind, you always knew there's got to be something else out there.
Yeah,
But because of culture and conditioning, you just follow certain steps day after day. And
yeah.
I totally understand that. I got married when I was 21.
Oh,
Um, and basically got married when I was 21 because all my female cousins had been married by the time they were 21. It was sort of a thing. Um, and yet, my husband and I, we were not ready to be married, but we got married because society and parents sort of instructed it. And it wasn't an arranged marriage. We had met, we knew each other. However, I knew almost right away too. I wanted to be married because all my friends were getting married and wanted to be like my cousins, but I knew there was something I was missing. And it took me a long time to finally go out and look for it. So you got married, you lived with your in laws, you had children. When did you finally sort of wake up and say, there's something else out there? Like, how do I grab it?
well, it was a wake-up call I did have when I turned 36. This is probably maybe 13 years through my marriage. I was also when I was married, Karen, I was also a teacher. I was a piano teacher because I was so well trained with piano. I was a piano teacher, and so that, and raising the kids, that occupied a lot of my time. When you're busy with the kids, you're occupied. When you're busy with teaching, you're occupied, So, and then you do as a young girl, and that's how I was, as adulthood, not have a voice. I did take on, I swallowed a lot. I swallowed a lot. Unfair, unjust things that did happen to me. But nevertheless, at 36, I think maybe 33, I do become friends with a lady. Her name's also Seema. And 3 years later, just as soon as I meet her and we do go on trips and we do things together, she passes away. At 36, and I saw my friend she was in her 40s, passed away. Oh my God, it was like something, Karen, in my gut. Even to this day, I remember my gut, literally my stomach was shaking. And I'm petrified because I found out that she passed away from ovarian cancer in 4 months. I mean,
Oh my.
you can, people who do want to live in this world, they'll make an effort to go to, chemotherapy. I found out, no, she did not want to make an effort to live because she was under a very suppressive husband.
So,
Listen, Karen, only ladies and only women can understand this kind of, dialogue that I'm having. Everybody,
absolutely. And it's also interesting that sometimes as women, and I'm not saying your friend particularly, but sometimes in women, because of our upbringing, we allow the men in our life to suppress us. And I can now look back at my first marriage and realize if I had my voice back then, that marriage, I don't know if it would have worked or not, but I wouldn't have been suppressed the way I was. I wouldn't have heard all that negativity. I could have turned it around because I would have had confidence, but I didn't have it back then. It took me time to mature, to actually end up in a good relationship where my husband, now of 41 years, if I dare say anything negative about myself, he'll look at me and go, "Who are you talking about?" Because that's not you. So it can take a while, but there's no reason why we can't eventually find our voices. And you have.
Yes. So, what you've said is just perfect, perfect as to what we're talking about. The fact, up until, 13 years of marriage, didn't have a voice. And as I said, that kind of was brought on from my childhood, experience with the piano teacher. I thought I don't have a voice, and so with my marriage, the same thing continued. I didn't have a voice. I was very, very scared, but to just have two young children, and you don't want to, you want to make sure that you keep the peace in the family.
Exactly.
You don't
Exactly.
want to stand, you don't want to stay your grounds, or you don't want to hold on 1 second, let me fix this. Oh, okay. So when you're much better. Now, when you have young children, for a woman, you want to make sure that that you don't try to, break anything, or you don't want to,
Yep,
uh,
exactly.
ruin anything, and destroy anything. So, uh, I did took a lot. But what happened was that at 36, when this friend of mine passed away, I something inside of me just shook up. Oh my, I was petrified that that was going to happen to me. Literally. It took me a long time to be able to say that, but Karen, I literally thought at 36, if I don't do anything, I'm going to die. Not only my husband was very suppressive, my mother was very suppressive, and I did not have a voice to stand up. I didn't have boundaries to stand up.
So what was the key that made you, besides her death, to say, okay, if I take this step, I'm on the way to find my voice?
Well, I had no other choice. I either had to go work on myself or get a divorce,
Yeah.
or die.
Well, and
I decided I was going to work on
right,
myself. So
exactly.
I decided I was going to strengthen myself to be able to stand in this marriage. I was able to, strengthen myself to be able to withstand the marriage. So I did go to therapy at the age of 36. It was spiritual therapist that I did go to. And then so when you go to therapy, it's not an easy thing. Everything is like up in the, everything that you've held, it's like out on the open, and then you
Right.
have to deal with it. It's a lot of breaking down, and going back and breaking down, a lot of emotions, a lot of trauma that was built up, a lot. So after about 2.5 years of therapies, my therapist said, "Well, if you want to live and you don't want to get a divorce, uh, well, you need to start doing yoga." And thank God, Karen, that this yoga that I started, maybe I was maybe in my 40s, or late 30s. This yoga is called Bikram yoga. I don't know why. I think God gave me this understanding about this yoga, where I would go to the heat. Now, this is a heated yoga. It is 26 positions, and it really triggers every cell, every your tissues, your cells, your bones in a systematic way, or a mathematical way, or wherever they are triggered. Your inside are triggered. So all of those trauma and the emotions, somehow they're getting released through the yoga, and
Thank you.
opening up your channels, opening up your chakras, your channels. So first of all, it's not an easy thing to do to go into that yoga room. It's like, but I was so determined. I was so adamant that I wanted to live. Something, a force in back of me was, and so the yoga was incredible. I had a teacher that, would teach me, and then afterwards I went to the studio, and it was, now another thing is when you go on to these journeys of self-discovery, well, it's like the band-aid is open. So you
Right?
are bruised, okay? And so I am witnessing everything. I am feeling everything. I am, you know, everything. Now, do I still have a voice to stand up? No, I don't. But I'm still processing so much and trying to find a way, a path in my life. But I really did work on myself. I worked so hard. So a lot of interesting things did happen. We did adopt a little boy. I have two kids, of with my marriage, and then we have a boy who is, not our culture, not our religion, and now he's 12 years old. He's living with us. His mom is living with us. I did go and become a board of directors of four charities. I did a lot of community work, and I would travel and do, either to gather information about hospitals. I would for events, any events that they had to do, or there was a uh, organization that I was involved with was Beyond Vision. It was for children who were blind and who couldn't see, and so I really worked on, being involved in that, raising money, raising funds, even performing sometimes, to kind of raise funds for the organization. So it was, just a lot of things did happen, and I did a lot of traveling, either with my friends or with family, and those travels always, I was very open to receiving either information that I was getting from the divine or something that I had to process within myself. And was a tough journey, but I just somehow deep down knew that there was reason for me to go through all of this. Did I still have a voice? No, through those years, I didn't. But I knew that this journey of mine, I call it the darkest days of my soul. It was of maybe 15, 16 years, and nobody knew what I was going through because, I had a persona of looking pretty and dressing well and going to the public. And so 50. That was the day when I had a birthday party, and my friend threw a birthday party for me. We had some people, gather around. And Karen, for the first time in my life, I found myself being aggressive for the first time and taking the microphone. And I said it to all those ladies that were there. I think it was October of 2019. 2019. I'm done with act one of my life. I'm ready for act two. I had just turned 50. But did I know what the hell I was going to be doing? No way. I had no clue. But I remember I said that. And these ladies, in our society, oh, what do you mean you've raised the kids? You've done mom, you've done community work, you've done travels, you've done self-introspective work, you've done, oh, well, what do you want to do? I really did have lived a complete life, more than maybe anybody. I mean, I really did. But
But what
somehow
what
something
you
told me,
but what you announce to them is so important, and I'm hoping other women hear this, that there is more than one act in our life.
yeah,
There are numerous. And that's what the journey is all about. And if we are mindful of who we are and what we need, then we can find our internal happiness.
yeah,
I share with my clients that it took me to almost 60 years old to say, as much as I like helping other people, as much as I like being the giver, I'm unhappy because all I'm doing is giving, giving, giving. And my circle expected it from me. So I never even got the small little thank you. or, hey, can I do this for you?
Yeah.
Because, and so it was right before my 60th birthday that my son said to me one day, Mom, you're really depressed. And I said, No, I'm not. And I wanted to fight him on it. And as I said, No, I'm not, I broke down crying and said, Yes, I am.
Yeah.
And I said, I still want to be a giver, but it needs to be on my terms now. And that's when I found my voice. It was like, I'll do for others, but I need to now choose, not just do because it's expected. And I learned that when I was a little girl. I have two older brothers. My mother always used to say to me, if you do nice things for your brothers, they will love you when you get older. So that stuck in me. I have to do nice things for people, for them to love me, for me to move on. So for you ladies who are listening to this, you can make changes at any time in your life, but you have to want to make the changes. And Seema, you obviously wanted to. That's why you picked up the microphone and made that announcement.
It's the key. You have to want to change your life. And not only you have to want to change your life, but it takes work. It takes work. Okay, so we got up. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it takes work. Not only one thing is you want to change your life and you are capable of changing your life, but it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of believing in yourself. It takes a lot of trusting yourself. And so when at 50, I decided and I announced it to these ladies, I'm done with Act One. I want Act Two. I was really, really done. I wanted to create another world, create another experience, and without really not knowing anything as to what I was doing. I mean, I'm going to say this till the end of the day. I didn't know what I was doing. During COVID, let me show you, Karen. I picked this book. It's a it's a leather book like this, you know, where
Okay.
all, where all the where I had no clue what I was doing, honestly, where all the pages are intact. And I started sketching designs, evening wear designs. Have I ever done this before? No. Have I taken it? I always wanted to do it. I had all this passion of creating and doing just designing and creating dresses. Never did I take a fashion. I tried to go to school, I think when at college, but I couldn't stand. Everybody was so much younger than me. I couldn't even go to school And but during COVID, not knowing what I was doing, I I started sketching designs. So it's something like taking a leap of faith. Sometimes you don't know what it is. And it's funny because even up until today, with what I have done with Sima Collection and what certain things are unraveling, I am, Karen, literally working with faith and trust and patience. Now, somebody would say, how can you build a business like that? I don't know, but I did. Every decision that I had to make, good or bad, every alignment, good or bad, every minute details of, I can share some of it with you. I mean, I'm just listening to my gut. I'm listening to my gut. So it started in 2020. I started sketching these designs, and it was just like we didn't have anything else to do during COVID. I had to keep busy with something. But even at the beginning when these designs came, and these designs, when I do a design, it's done with. I don't go back and erase it. And that's why I told you about that leather book, because
Yeah.
anybody sees that leather book, the pages are intact. The things that would come to me one after another are there. And so I don't have eraser marks. I don't have redos. But you have to understand, these sketches were not like complicated and sophisticated. No, they're just simple, simple designs that, you see the colors, you see the embellishments in minute details, you see the different kinds of fabrics. Let's say that I've used a chiffon, a silk, a satin. And you can tell because that requires that kind of a, material. But I don't know. I mean, I just started and it's something you can tell your listeners. I didn't know what I was doing, but I just took a leap of faith.
But I believe a lot of people who are successful, and we can all put success on a scale, and it's going to look different for all of us. But I do believe that people who are truly successful, it's because of a need that they need to fulfill.
Yeah.
Now, I remember when I started podcasting a little over 14 years ago, I knew nothing about podcasting other than I read an article, I listened to a couple, and I came home and I said to my husband one day, I want to start a podcast. And he goes, okay, what do you need? And we went out and bought all this equipment, which I really didn't need then. And I definitely don't need now. But that was my image, how I could do this. And when I was asked, why is anybody going to listen to your podcast? My comment is because I'm going to be talking with people about real life. And it's going to reflect. And other people are going to say, wow, Seema one day just picked up a pencil and a book and she started sketching. Oh, and from that sketch did another and another and another. And now she has a business. And is it as big as Dior? No, not today. Will it be? It could be. But the comment is, it's what we make of it. And if it's something that we truly want. So the other day I was on at a online seminar, and uh, somebody was goading me about my podcasting. And they said, so how many listeners do you have? What is your return rate? And they're going through, I said, you know what? I don't even look. I do not look. I'm doing it for me. And I'm helping other people. I said, so am I successful? Yes, I am. And that's where it all begins. And you're successful because you found your voice and you found your passion. What more
Absolutely.
can somebody want out of life?
I mean, I think God, angels, every every minute of the day. I'm just in so much gratitude. First of all, finding my passion, finding my voice, because this is going to be my voice. The, my story, Karen, and the dresses are a testament of my voice. So my voice and what I have overcome and how this brand and these dresses will help heal humanity. That is huge, what I'm telling you. Because what I overcame to come into this, I call it come into this from the darkness to come into light, to follow my passion, to follow my dream, to follow my purpose. This will take the brand into that direction and helping women to come into light, to come into beauty, to come into their own essence, their own inner light, their own inner beauty, and tap in who they are. So it's I come on the woman who's standing, for the brand. I'm the one who will be taking the brand forward, but it is to serve humanity overall.
I love that. And
I say I
how do your children relate to Seema, who now has a voice, who is growing, and maybe not the same person they remember as children.
Yeah, I'm going to be really truthfully honest with you on that. No, they're not very supportive.
And that's difficult. And that's difficult.
I don't, not, no. It's very difficult when I tell you, Karen, I really did this on my own. Nobody wants you to succeed in life. Nobody wants to see, let's say, their mom, their friend, their daughter, to do something that they never got to do, that they wanted to do, that they honestly, deep down, nobody's happy for that. Did it pain me? Did I go through a lot of pain? Absolutely. Did I try to explain myself? Of course. Did I try to but then now, even some, people in my charity work, when I came back from my fashion shows, they were saying, oh, well, all she's doing this because she needs money, or she's doing this because now she's getting a divorce from her husband, And I'm going, what are these people talking about? They have all these things to say behind my back. They don't have one thing to say, well, she followed her passion, her mission, her purpose. We should be proud of her.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right? Because this is what it was all about, and this is all that it's going to be. This lady's following her mission, her passion, and her purpose. 5 years, Karen, I took this on my own, taking the suitcases to the shows all by myself. I don't have a big team. It's only me, but I got there. 6 months after I just initial sketches, I get into New York Fashion Week, which is huge. I don't even have a dress made. That's September of 2021. It's huge.
Absolutely.
And then after that, 2020, 2021, I get an invitation for Milan Fashion Week. I get an invitation for Paris Fashion Week. I go by myself. And then I'm in the, showroom and trying to fit the models. Obviously, I do hire a seamstress to help with, kind of adjusting the dresses, but I'm the one dressing the models. I'm the one choosing the dresses on the models. I'm the one, everything. The shows are pretty important.
I am impressed, and I'm hoping that our listeners are feeling the same way. And we all can do what Seema has done. Some of
We
us do
have
have support, others do not. But if it's something that you truly, truly believe in, um, my parents taught me some really great lessons. Um, the rest of our family was very well off. My parents struggled, but they didn't wear it on their sleeve. They went out, they did what they had to, they were creative. And they taught my brothers and I, if you want something, you have to go for it. Don't wait for somebody to bring it to you, because then it's really not yours, it's theirs.
exactly.
And when I was graduating high school and I wanted to become a broadcaster, and this was back in 1968 when women were not really in broadcasting, my parents said, we'd rather you be a teacher. Go to school, get your teaching degree, you'll get married, you'll have a family. This was their view back in the 60s. And I didn't listen to them because I didn't want to become a teacher. I got an associate's degree in communications and couldn't do anything with it because, like I said, women weren't in my field. However, when I turned 60, I went back to college to get my degree and get my master's, and I did it for me. Now, sadly, my father was not around to see it, but my mother was. And my mother said to me one day, I am so sorry you had to wait so long. And I said, but now it means more because I did it. I paid for it. I did the work. I gained the degree, and I'm using it in the way that I want to. And that's what I see you doing, Seema. You designed, you got your invitations, you're getting out there, you're moving. And sadly, there are going to be people in this world who are going to look at you and say, oh, you're doing this so that you can leave home. You're doing this so you can be Miss Popularity. You're doing it because you need to do it.
I have to do this. It's a mission. And I say it all the time. And I've said it, in some of my shows as well, that Sima Collection is a mission. Everybody, when they come into this lifetime, they have a mission. We have a mission. We have a cause that we have to do. We have to try at least. We have to try to at least do the mission. Now, mine was this, but everybody's can be something else. But you have to tap into your inner voice, inner self, and find out what that mission is. What is the guiding lights inside of you telling you that you need to do in this lifetime? And boy, when you know what that is, you stick to it. You
Absolutely.
stick to it. Do not listen to anybody because we talked about this, Karen. People just want to bring you down and keep quiet. One of the mistakes that I made in the beginning, I was so excited about this project. I wanted to share with people. And I realized not everybody, first of all, that came to me. They don't know. So they can't be supportive. They can't root for you. They
Right.
don't know, you know? But even that, I even thought, you know what? Well, they're the closest people to me. Whatever I do, they need to just, give me a positive feedback or whatever. But honestly, I did not. And I'm very truthful about it. No one really supported me. I was just doing this on my own, 100% on my own. And, it strengthened me. Another thing is that you said at the end, when we do this on our own without any help, I got here on my own. And I'm
Absolutely.
and and I own it. I own it. And I would not have changed and evolved the way I have right now if I did not do it on my own. I navigated everything on my own.
So, how can my listeners follow you and see how this is going to grow?
Sure. Right now, you guys can follow me on my Instagram at Sima Collection. For now, that is the best. I'm
Okay.
still trying to work my way through with certain things that have happened in Italy. For me, for Sima Collection, because that was my original vision, Karen. My vision was for the dresses to be made in Italy because they carry that vibe, the essence and the vibration of art, of class, of couture. I could not have had the dresses made here in Los Angeles, with all due respect. The Italians, they have that, artistry. They
Right.
have that to make these dresses. So it was a lot of, struggles and pain and suffering for me to keep this brand intact and not give it away for money, not give it away for fame, not give it away to any influencers, any movie stars. Nobody has worn a Sima Collection.
Well, I want
Please
to
don't give
thank
it
you.
away.
I want to thank you for sharing your journey. We're going to follow you, and
Please do.
your information will be in the show notes. So, for our listeners, go to the Instagram page and take a look at what Seema's doing. And one day we may see one of your designs on somebody walking across the red carpet somewhere, which would be
Really?
absolutely wonderful. I love
It
it.
will be. It will be. It will be such a pleasure, Karen. And honestly, thank you so much for having me on your show.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day now. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.